Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a great day. In this video, I want to share a post-burn review of Kringle Candle Vintage Christmas. This was one of 6 new fragrances that was released for the Kringle Holiday 2025 collection. These candles were actually released in September. I feel like it's a little too soon in September to start reviewing holiday candles, but now that we're in October, I am more than happy to dive in. Feels weird having pumpkins in the background of Christmas reviews, but I haven't switched over to Christmas decor quite yet. I am one of those people that's going to decorate really early. In fact, I'm going to be starting on November 1st. But yeah, as of right now, I'm still trying to enjoy the pumpkin decor. So I didn't set up a festive Christmas background for these reviews. So anyway, I am actually really excited to dig into all 6 of these reviews because I do think that Kringle did a very good job with this particular lineup this year. I do wish that they would have given us at least a couple more candles. I think a collection of 8 would have been nice to see because obviously we no longer have the country candle collection available, so it would have been nice just to see a couple of extras. But I do think that 2025 has been just a little bit of a transition year for Kringle, so totally understand that, you know, these things are usually planned about a year in advance, at least a couple of seasons in advance, in terms of the collections. So I think they were just trying to keep everything consistent for the most part. So the usual 6 were released, and that's what we're going to get so far. I do anticipate that we will probably see a holiday reserve collection. I also anticipate potentially another like limited edition holiday collection as well. That's typically how it goes with Kringle. Nothing is set in stone. I certainly can't give you any dates or information about those potential collections. It's just based off of previous experience with Kringle from previous years. So anyway, you guys, let's go ahead and kick off these holiday candle reviews. And we're gonna start with this absolutely beautiful Vintage Christmas. I am definitely really enjoying this one, and I do think for me this will be a repurchase, so curious to see what you guys think about it as well. I'll go ahead and link where you can find Vintage Christmas at the top of the description box here. I will also go ahead and put my discount code Melanie15 in the description box as well. That will save you 15% off of the purchase at Kringle Candle here. Otherwise, you can also apply your rewards as well. However, you can save yourself some money. You should definitely do that. Without further ado, let's dive into it. As always, I'm going to go ahead and get started by reading through the scent story first. Then we'll go through the top, middle, and base notes. I'll tell you what I smell in this fragrance, kind of what it reminds me of. Then we'll talk strength and throw, and lastly, of course, address the overall burn quality. So the description for Vintage Christmas reads, Vintage Christmas brings back the magic of holidays past, where spiced fruits and glowing balsam fill a candlelit room. Cinnamon, clove, and ginger dance through the air, warmed by amber, patchouli, and aged wood. It's a timeless scent, nostalgic, cozy, and wrapped in tradition. The top notes are fruit and spice, the mid notes are balsam and cinnamon, and then at the base, we have wood and amber. So, what does this smell like? First of all, I do think that the kind of perfect word for this fragrance is nostalgic. It smells oddly familiar to me. I feel like this candle smells like my Oma's house used to smell around the holidays growing up in Germany. I smell almost like a combination of like fruitcake and mulled wine. it just smells like a very traditional, just kind of typical holiday type of scent, I guess you could say. So let's dig through the notes specifically. So at the top we have fruit and spice. So the fruit that I'm getting here is like the candied fruit that you find in fruitcake. So it's very intensely sweet. It's kind of generic, almost like there's a little bit of like a dried apple, like a dried orange, a dried lemon, just those typical, like raisins, the typical fruits that you would find in a fruit cake, right? And I'm telling you, like, I know a lot of people don't really care for fruit cake, but I think there's something about the smell of fruit cake that is just really comforting. It might not be the most delicious thing to eat. It's a little dense, it's a little heavy, right? And oftentimes insanely sweet. So it's not something that you are gonna, you know, like mow down multiple pieces of, but something about the smell of that particular type of cake, it just is so comforting and just beautiful smelling, I guess you could say. So yeah, I get a lot of those like dried fruits that you get in a fruit cake, basically. The spice is definitely somewhat intense in this one. It's not a super spicy, like red hot cinnamon, but it's definitely quite a bit of cinnamon here. There's also a healthy dose of clove, and there's quite a bit of ginger, but I really like this ginger because it's not an overly like spicy ginger. I don't think anything about the scent is like overly spicy, but it definitely is spice forward, I guess I'm trying to say. But it's not overwhelming. The ginger is a little bit more toned down, but it's definitely present. So what I find interesting about this one is that usually when Kringle puts patchouli into a fragrance, it's actually one of the first things that I smell. I don't smell that in here. In fact, I don't really get much of the amber that's listed either. I really expected those two notes to kind of become a lot more prominent when I was burning this, and it just never got to that point. So if you are a little intimidated or nervous by the amber and the patchouli that's listed here, I normally pick up on those immediately, and I don't smell either of those notes. But as always, I think it's important to, if you're nervous about a fragrance with Kringle, to just start with their daylights. I love that they offer smaller versions of their candles. Is it going to give you the strength and throw experience of like a regular candle? No, but you at least get to smell the scent without committing to a large jar and then being stuck with something that you obviously don't care for. So if those two notes make you nervous still, even though I don't really smell them myself, go for the daylight. There is a holiday tree note in here, and I guess balsam. It's kind of like, it smells a little bit like a mix of like a spruce and a balsam to my nose, but there's a definite holiday tree note here, and that's the only component that smells like non-edible, if you will. Everything else about this smells like it could potentially be edible. So that mulled wine type note, like there's no like booziness here, but I'm thinking more of like the spices that go into a mulled wine, which usually cinnamon, clove are included there. But I feel like also another spice note that I get a little bit of here is like a star anise type note. I do smell a little bit of that as well. It's not listed, but I do think that that's where that like mulled type note comes in for me. I like to put star anise in my mulled wine, so yeah, I really feel like I get some of that here. So while this is not necessarily a boozy fragrance, it does have some of like the spices that you would smell in a mulled wine type of situation. So overall, to me, this kind of smells like an interesting mix of, yeah, like a fruitcake and mulled wine type situation. I think it's fantastic. I really love the smell of this one. It's not very modern. And again, I can't really compare it to another candle, but I really like it. It smells familiar, it smells nostalgic, and it's more of that, like, I guess you could say like a traditional type of Christmas type scent. I really love this. I would definitely repurchase this in the future. It is quite lovely. In terms of strength and throw, the 2-wick is performing perfectly for me. The strength is a solid 7. The throw, I would actually put somewhere between a 7 and an 8. Quite frankly, this one fills a large, like, part of the downstairs of the house here. It seems to travel quite well, but it also isn't overly aggressive. You would think that, especially with the spice notes in here, that this one might be a little overwhelming, but I don't think of it as overwhelming at all. It's a really pleasant and enjoyable strength and throw experience. The 4-wick, I almost feel like might be a little too intense. There's definitely a couple of the fragrances from this holiday collection that I will want in the 4-wick. I think this one here is one that I can stick, you know, with the 2-wick, and I will get a great performance out of that. And I think it's gonna be a really enjoyable fragrance to mix in with a lot of the other holiday fragrances that I typically enjoy from November 1st until New Year's Eve, basically. So anyway, great strength and throw here. And as far as burn quality goes, I very rarely have trouble with Kringle. You guys know how I feel about their soy formulation. I think this is the cleanest soy formulation that I have ever experienced. So a lovely clean burn here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the candle to the side so that you guys can see the side of the jar there. Obviously no discoloration, no, like the wax isn't dirty. The flames are doing great. Yeah, great wicks, great wax formulation, pretty fantastic scent here. And I think a must try for the holidays, especially if you are, I kind of had this goal with my fall home fragrance as well, but I have this goal this year of just enjoying really nostalgic types of fragrances, things that remind me of, you know, growing up in the 80s and 90s. I think it's just because I'm reaching that like middle age situation where I'm just feeling really nostalgic about, you know, my childhood. And yeah, it was, I had a great time for the most part growing up. Some parts were a little rough, but you know, like I look back fondly on that time, and it's kind of nice to experience fragrances that are, you know, that remind me of those years growing up. So anyway, for what it's worth, I really like this one, you guys. Get it in the wax melt or in the daylight if you are at all unsure, but it's a really lovely fragrance. And honestly, if you're on the nostalgic train along with me, you should give this one a try. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I really appreciate you being here. Subscribe if you are new, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.